The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Kamen Rider Dragon Knight episode review. I realized this at the end of the last review, but yeah, we're in for a clip show today. And trust me, it's really starting to feel like a clip show to me. You see, a little ongoing issue I've had creating content in general lately is that my computer seems to forget that this microphone exists every so often and stops recording my audio. I'm recording video with this camera, but audio with this microphone because it's just a better microphone and other issues, etc., etc. So when I recorded my last episode review, I was stopping every 2 or 3 takes to check that the audio recorder was still picking up audio levels. And everything went fine the entire time. It never stopped. So I naively thought, oh, it seems like the problem has fixed itself. When I do my next episode review, I won't have to worry about checking it. Yeah, you can probably imagine what happened here. I recorded this entire review and half of the next one, getting a little ahead, before I decided to just go ahead and check to make sure it was still getting levels. It had stopped recording audio after 2 minutes. I lost 44 minutes of audio recording. It happens in content creation. Just had to shake it off. I've switched things over now. I had the on-screen graphic as a PowerPoint slide so I could stick my hand in front of it. But now it's more important for me to be able to constantly see the audio levels on screen. So I've transitioned to putting that back in post just to show you for the one time. I'm going to try not to do it after that. So, anyway, I don't entirely know how I feel about getting a clip show this early. It's only been 15 episodes, but I mean, this has been a pretty dense, complicated story so far. You know, clip shows do save money for things down the road, so maybe this helps other parts of the show be awesome. Whatever. Let's get Chris caught up on this story by taking a look at the 15th episode of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, The Many Faces of Xaviax.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right you. What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
You know, I've been starting to come around on these longer episode recaps that preview in the episode because this is a dense, complicated story and they can be kind of necessary, especially for younger viewers. But if there's anywhere I'm going to criticize them, it's right here. This is a clip show. We're recapping the plot of the story anyway, and this thing is 1.5 minutes long, even if it's only focused on the previous episode. I will say that they at least went directly into the theme song following it. The episode starts off a little strangely. We see Kit, Len, Maya, and Chris all talking, but we can't hear them. There's music playing. It's like it's a montage. Then we fade into the conversation. Chris says this is all pretty hard to believe and asks Kit how he got wrapped up in all this. We get clips about Kit's backstory, then cut back into the present to let Maya explain that she couldn't see the monsters at first and thus thought Kit was crazy, joking that she still does. Clips of her encounter with Len and Kit and the gel newts in the alley. Len's turn, reiterating that if Kit had just given him the deck to begin with, he wouldn't be wrapped up in any of this. Of course, knowing what we know about the mirror twins, yes, he very likely would. Xaviax would have just found some way to get the dragon deck away from Len and back to Kit. In fact, though this note is really more for the benefit of the audience than the characters, because I don't think any of them have heard him say this, Xaviax has stressed several times that Kit is very important to his plans. We get clips of the rest of that fight, Len rescuing Maya and then trying to get the deck from Kit. Then Kit talks about finding the contract card, binding with the dragon, and joining the fight formally. Chris has a bit of a coughing fit at the table, but insists that he's okay. He asks if they tried talking to the other riders like they've talked to him. Kit talks about Kamen Rider Incisor. Chris realizes that Xaviax played on his greed, but Len says it's worse than that. He was just a kid, and Xaviax set him up. Len says that before Incisor, he'd never vented another rider before, and it shook him up. Chris asks if that's why he didn't vent him, and he says that's part of it, but also, more to the point, while he knows that getting the Kamen Rider decks away from Xaviax is a key to stopping him, it's very hard to make yourself vent somebody that you know has been fooled. Chris asks about Torque, and Kit says that he just wanted power. However, after some clips, Kit is forced to admit that at least Drew was smooth, unlike Incisor. Maya says that's giving him too much credit, the man was a snake. After some clips, Kit said that he sounded really sincere, and Len says that he must have. Kit sure believed him fast enough.
Oh, snap.
Kit explains that he was just worried about his dad. Nice try, Kit. You're not getting out of himbodom quite that easily. Maya's just glad that Camo came along and messed up Torque's plan. We get the impression that everything that's happening in the clips is still being described to Chris. We see Camo say that Captain Maddox didn't say anything about backup, and then back in the framing device, Chris correctly guesses that Maddox was Xaviax. Funny enough, though, Kit doesn't confirm that, just saying that it wouldn't really make sense for him to have been anyone else. Kit describes dealing with Camo, and Len says at the same time he was dealing with Kamen Rider Thrust, telling the story about how Brad was blackmailed. Though I'm not really sure that Brad described much of that story to the other riders, so...
How did you know about the parts you weren't there for?
One good thing about having to review a clip show is it does allow me to make up for any mistakes that I've made thus far. In my review of episode 10, I said this.
Brad storms out of the trailer and smacks his truck in frustration. But just before he gets to the truck, we hear a soft voice go, "Brad Barrett?" Brad doesn't react at all, and then Xaviax walks up. But his voice sounds different than the voice that we heard. It's like they dubbed someone in asking Brad's name, but why?
They played that clip in this episode, and after Brad hits his truck, he very clearly goes, "Brad Barrett always wins," with no sign of that small voice that I described. I thought, oh, they might have actually fixed it for the clip show. So I went back to the original episode and checked, and nope, it goes exactly the same way there. That thing I said about the soft voice saying his name without having heard it at all, I really don't know what I was talking about. The clip suddenly cut from Xaviax's pitch to Brad to Torque venting Camo. The only real connection is it does kind of point out that Xaviax said to Brad, "You don't want to lose," and then Brad saying that he was never told what would happen if he lost. We quickly get caught up to Kamen Rider Sting himself, with Maya telling her side of that story. Chris says that he does wish the story he had been told was true, as that would be a lot easier. He does thank the riders for being patient with him, and Kit says he just wishes that Thrust had been so open to listening. Clips of Strike and Thrust fighting, and another possible mistake by me, as Strike says, "You just lost your sponsor, Barrett." Barrett would make a lot more sense than Barry, which is what I said I heard the first time. I did listen to that clip several times and kept hearing Barry, but Chris asked the big question behind the show. Why is Xaviax picking the people that he's picking? And we get clips that explain the whole mirror twin thing. Chris asks about his mirror twin, but Len says that he was vented by Xaviax. Chris is now 100% on board, seeing Xaviax as evil and insisting that he has to be stopped. Despite this proclamation, Kit asks Chris if he's ready to help them, but he suddenly gets an asthma attack and staggers towards the front door. Taking his inhaler, he says He can't help them. He's not even strong enough to help himself running off. The riders go to chase after him, but Maya stops them, saying he might listen to her better. And that's it. Yay, clip show. You know, I'm sorry, but I can't even justify going through the whole formal pros and cons thing for an episode like this. I even considered skipping this episode in terms of doing reviews, but I like to have a review in place for every episode, no matter what. It is what it is. This is the dictionary definition of a clip show. An audience surrogate character is brought up to speed via clips from other episodes. I mean, it was also a bottle show. The entire episode takes place in Kit's apartment. There's no monsters, no fights, no transformations, no Xaviax, except in the clips, of course. For the formality of scoring at the end of the season, I am giving the Many Faces of Xaviax 2 cards out of 5. It did its job well enough, but it wasn't interesting to anybody that's been keeping up with the show. Let's get back to the story by taking a peek at the 16th episode of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, the hero of Gramercy Heights. Chris doubts his ability to fight his sting because of his asthma, but Strike has decided to take him out. Kit and Len try to locate Maya's source, JTC, but find a monster instead. And that is going to wrap up another Kamen Rider Dragon Knight episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Down in the comments below, you can let me know what you thought of this episode, as well as my review of it. And while you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, heroes, may the power of the cards protect you. Kit finds the contract card and joins the fight formerly. Crit formerly. To Torque to venting to tick.